his father apparently telling Roby to get rid of the gun over an Xbox call. So we'll dissect that, and we're going to learn more. I've actually reached out to Charlie Smith, who I'm sure can't say a lot right now, being the state's attorney. His office is going to prosecute the case. However, what we can do is collect more information and get correct information out there, and that's why David is here. But let me set up this clip real quick. This is from the Cadillac Counselor YouTube video that was sent out yesterday and published, critical of WFMD's news reporting, and then Dave will react to that after sports and after news. Here it is, the Cadillac Counselor via the YouTube page.
Facebook, and I took a really good look at what was going on around the city and how people thought. People were calling them thugs. These are the type of things with these urban children. But they didn't even know that it wasn't even an urban kid that was the murderer. It was just a kid from Frederick. How you just gonna come out and say this was gang related right from the get-go? See, people like them are the ones that put this false information out there. You should be really upset. And then it got to the point where Frederick City Police had to tell people to stop spreading rumors. Do you know who the...
All right, so that's David Brooks on his YouTube page, the Cadillac Counselor. Go and subscribe to it right now to hear the full, I believe, 8 minutes or so of content that he delivered. He delivers commentaries on a regular basis to the community. Let's check sports real quick, and then David Brooks in studio, 301-694-9363, 301-694-WFMD. Bob Ryan, and coming up, David Brooks right here on WFMD. Off 26 in Frederick on Sunday. Excuse me? Yeah, one of the several locations, this one on Routson's Way. So WFMD reported that there were possible gang ties, and I'll read the post because the post has since been corrected, but I want David to do a lot of the talking tonight. What kind of precipitated your video?
Man, to be honest, man, I was sitting there, sitting with my wife watching TV, and I just started to see just a bunch of just information on Facebook, and it was just very demeaning and just nasty. And I was just like, where's all this negativity coming from? Nobody really knows what happened. And then I started seeing the post coming up, and it had on there that it was gang related. And I saw the source, and I was just kind of like, who wrote that? Like, why would somebody write that right now? Now, don't get me wrong. I don't know what happened in that event. I don't know all of the events that occurred before it, during it, or just after it. I don't know that. But there was a couple things that were brought up through the media. It even had, one source even said that it was a robbery, and that it was, they were on the lookout for a black male running across 26, and it was like, this didn't even have anything to do with that. So it was just false information that really got the community in an uproar. Yep. And that's what I said. It's not even about, there's a lot of disparities in the community. And you have to look at, man, people right now are suffering from COVID. I mean, whether to have masks on, not to have masks on, the vaccine, man, people are on the edge of fear. And that's why I don't like when people push something that quickly and it creates this fear. Like whenever you read in the news and you see a robbery or some type of gang, man, that just brings up some kind of fear, like you get scared. And that's what we don't need in the community, is to scare people. Like, to report it, it was going to get enough movement just by saying there was a murder. It didn't have to say whether it was related to anything.
David Brooks, the Cadillac counselor, in studio live talking about the shooting tragedy and the subsequent reporting by WFMD of possible gang-related activity when Jaion Penamon was gunned down in Burger King. Now, do you think that we're focusing on the right things here? Meaning, here's this kid with a gun. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't go into a Burger King with a gun. Never have, never will. We can question till we're blue in the face why he was in Burger King with a gun. But some of the comments that came from Facebook after your video kind of bothered me in a sense that we're not really focusing on the victim or the suspect. We're focusing more on the media coverage and how it hurt the community. We're not even looking at the fact that here's a kid that, according to multiple Facebook posts from a lady that purported to be a stepmother, was on drugs, had issues with the mother passing early in life. Are we not focusing enough on that? Because that's the solution to get to the core of that.
So, Brooks Behavioral Health Services, my company, that's my focus is criminal behavior. And so when I look at things of that nature, in this situation, in many of the situations with gun shooting, drug dealing, just any of those crimes, there's a mindset that comes with that. And where's that mindset coming from? Usually out of trauma. It's normally out of being neglected or abandoned or anything like that. There's some type of social, there's anxieties, depressions, and just literally trying to make life and live it the correct way. But the problem is they have a mindset that is going to show these types of behaviors. And so whenever you look at the criminogenic factors of a person and their risk and need, there had to be some lacking in the community or in their life that wasn't tapped into. And that could be on either side of the board. It doesn't matter whether it's race or not. And that's why whenever I read those posts and it goes and it gets racial, it really frustrates me because this isn't a racial issue. This
Right.
is ultimately just a social issue.
Right, I couldn't agree with you more about that. Bob, go ahead. Good stuff.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, no doubt.
We're on that next on Free Talk 930.
And I wasn't aware of your behavioral center before this, but Bob told me you had like a sober Christmas event or something. Like anytime you have something like that, hit us up and let us know how we can help.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah, no, man, I've been doing that like 8 years, man.
Wow.
Just trying to get people that have been in some form of recovery. Hold on.
When we use that source, the person we used as a source, I think the argument is, and again, there's two sides to every story. The argument is that that source has never failed us before. It's a law enforcement source, so you go back to the source. And again, I just emailed Charlie Smith before we got on air to see if I could set up a conversation with him so we could find out more, because the only thing that's going to actually heal the community is facts.
It's the truth.
The facts coming out. The facts. We want to know what exactly happened in that Burger King. And unfortunately, there's only 3 people that really know: the girlfriend, the shooter, and Jaion, who's dead.
Yeah.
So the police investigation will reveal what it will reveal. I don't know what it will reveal, but I know in court yesterday, what came out at the bail hearing is that he called his father through an Xbox. I don't know how you can do that. I don't know.
Who called whose father?
Darren Roby called his father through an Xbox, and his father told him to get rid of the gun. So, yeah, that's what they found out yesterday.
And that was after the.
That was after the murder.
Wow.
So I don't know. And I'm glad that you said it's not about color. It's not about color.
No.
You know, it's about right and wrong, because when we reported it, we didn't know what the color of either individual was.
Yeah.
That wasn't a motive at all.
No.
You know?
But see, my thing is that regardless of any of that, it's when people are just constantly just in the world is looking for that edge.
Yes, they
You
want to
feel
be
me?
first and not true. Yeah.
But it's not really even about true. It's just it's whatever can get that first move. And sometimes you roll the dice and it hits. You feel me? Like you get that quick little somebody just shoot that information and go boom, 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 and you throw it out there.
Yep.
A couple of times you're gonna get hit and it's gonna be right on point, and you were the first ones to get it, and
And you
people
look
start
good.
saying, man, they get the information first. So then when something happens, they go straight to your source. So then what happens is in an event like this where it's and we can't even say that it's all the way wrong. But all we can say is we know for a fact that that situation didn't have anything to do with gang activity.
Yeah.
You feel me? And
Yeah.
that's it.
Right.
I'm not saying whether or not there could have been a conversation. There could have been something that was preemptive to making this happen.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we just gotta say, was that good for our community?
Right.
It just wasn't.
I used to have a news director when I worked in Topeka, Kansas. I used to ask me this question, and it's a good question to ask right now. What do you gain? What do you gain from reporting whatever you report?
Yeah.
And she always used to make me factor that in when I went to report whatever I wanted to report, and it taught me to think long and hard, because WFMD is a fixture in the community. People are going to turn to the radio station because it's been here for 85 years. So no matter what they say, they hate it or not, they still look at it as a source of news. It's one of the many sources, but it's a source. So people are going to turn to it, but you can't expect to keep your audience if you're making hurtful comments that are deemed false.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
I got you.
yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. We're coming back right now.
On 930 WFMD. 8:35 at WFMD. It's the morning news express by Miller Ryan Henry.
The Big Sexy. You know, Mike Banks came in and he said they used to call him Big Sexy. So we have two Big Sexies in the building.
It can only be one.
There can only be one.
It can only be one.
And of course, this morning we're talking about the murder of Jaion Penamon, who was murdered inside the Burger King on Routson's Way on Sunday by a man who has been identified and charged in the murders, Darren Roby, who is now in custody facing counts of first and second degree murder. And of course, David was critical of WFMD's reporting. Again, let's just reset. So you hear this information, you're sitting at home with your wife, watching TV, digesting all of this, which you and I both agree, we've been talking a lot off air. A lot of this stuff can be toxic to your soul,
Yep.
right? When you're looking at racial components and criminal components, rather, we already have enough division in the world. So the thought process to make the video was what?
You know, my thing is, most people, man, I see that race is a big card, and especially in Frederick, I see that race is always coming up for some reason, and so for me, I'm not about just exposing racism because it's just too much of it out there. My thing is systems. The system, when a system is broken, that system creates an atmosphere that people can't get better. And whenever you work with people, because I've worked with drug court, veterans court, I've worked with all of the areas in court systems, and whenever these things come out, it's a lot of times people get negative stigmas and labels that keep them down. And for me, I don't like systems that do that. And whenever I heard this aspect of a reporter, and getting some special sources. Whatever your sources is fine with me. And people say it was a police, maybe someone from the law enforcement gave him that type of feedback. Now, and just like I told you in the break, sometimes that little piece of information helps you become the first one, but sometimes you roll the dice and it's double eyes, and what happens, it's all bad. And so I'm not saying, it's just, we got to just stop. We got to stop and really think, like, what are we doing? Are we doing this for us? Are we doing it for the community? And if those lines get blurred, the people are the ones that get hurt.
WFMD traffic.
Sorry for going too long.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. This is great, man. This is great. This dialogue is a lot better than crickets. You know, this dialogue is a lot better than just playing your video on air, talking about the opinion of the video. It's nothing is bad about this. It's all good. I don't care how long you talk. It's your, it's your segment. We invited you in for a reason.
Thank you.
It is 8:38 at WFMD. Now it switches over to 8:39. Let's bring up Amy Friedman one last time and check the MTA commute. Amy, good morning.
Good morning. On Mark, train 894 out of Frederick earlier this morning is running on schedule now and will be arriving Union Station at 8:52. They made up some time. And train 880, the last Brunswick train of the morning out of the area, is also running on time and will be arriving at Union Station 9:21. No issues on the commuter buses this morning. Everything is good. Have a great day. For the MTA Transit team, I'm Amy Friedman on WFMD.
You have a great day as well. Thank you very much for all your work this morning, Amy.
For Frederick and surrounding counties. For this morning, chance of rain lingering, a low 39 degrees. Chance precipitation 40%. Rain continuing later today under mostly cloudy skies, a high of 53. For Wednesday, a chance of rain continuing, a high of 52. PJ's Roofing. When it comes to your roof, they've got you covered. Visit pjsroofing.com. I'm Rick Bennett.
Thank you, Rick. Right now, temperature's still hanging right at the in the 30-degree mark. Actually, it's gone up to 41 at WFMD. Still cloudy in Frederick. 840 at WFMD.
Number one for news and talk from Maryland's.
I'm going to blow off the sports report so we could have 10 extra minutes here.
The Morning News Express continues to roll along. 840 at WFMD. Bob Miller, Ryan Hendrick, and the Cadillac Counselor David Brooks.
So, I mean, the thing that really is the problem, and let's talk about the problem, is when it happened, all the way, literally, I stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning just looking at some of this information. And don't get me wrong, it changed by in the morning, but the problem was all the nastiness had happened between like 8 p.m. and 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And by the time I got to my office, I walked in my office, I hadn't looked at any other sources by 8 o'clock, because I was in my office by 8 o'clock fixing up stuff. So I didn't even see your side of the police department conversation until I heard about it later on this evening.
A lot of that is a product of a broken society, right? Because we spend so much time on social media, people feel compelled and empowered and emboldened to type whatever they want to type. WFMD gets nasty messages throughout the night, sometimes 2, 3 in the morning. I mean, who is reasonably up on Facebook at 3 o'clock in the morning typing a sane message of, positivity? So a lot of that is just toxicity from the community. Do you think, though, that every time we blame the media, and again, our sources, we are standing by our sources this morning. We are standing by our reporting until it's proven otherwise, until it comes out in court. A well-placed source told us what they told us. So are we taking focus away from the real tragedy, which is the shooting? Why the heck did a kid have a gun in Burger King?
I mean, we can go down that road. I mean, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, there's always some type of mental health, some type of situation that causes that. You never see someone make these types of decisions that don't come out of some situation, some aspect of behavioral health issues are in play. Like you just don't see, like when people go to court and you get in trouble, a normal thinking person says, I need to stop the behavior, I need to change my life, or I'm gonna keep coming back. Well, when you have mental health issues, it just doesn't compute that way. So it doesn't matter how many times you get thrown in jail or probation or whatever it is, if that mindset doesn't get challenged, and most times people's families don't challenge that, they just enable that same thinking. And that's probably what happened in this situation with this young boy Darren, is that he probably came out of a lifestyle or family situation of some type of dysfunction. It had to be. Yeah.
How does somebody take a look at that, and then how does somebody change somebody? Because at some point in time, and I know a little bit of your background, but at some point in time, the person on the inside has to be the one who wants to change on the outside. So what can an outsider do to help change the person on the inside?
Well, I mean, a lot of times it's a belief system. There's some type of dysfunctional belief system that is in play. Either they feel they're all powerful, that they should, life should be easy. They shouldn't have to work. I mean, these are all mindsets. They have to be perfect. And whenever they don't meet those belief systems, and that's what I do, I try to help people that have criminal behavior to adopt new belief systems. It's like new priorities. And if you don't allow that person and teach them that there's a different way to think, then they're always going to keep that same mindset. It's like if somebody calls you a different name and they come up to you and they say, hey, your name is different, you're not going to believe them. And a lot of times when we come into these people's lives and we say, hey, life could be totally different if you just give up these things, but they don't trust you because they don't know, because they're only used to one way of living.
The Cadillac counselor David Brooks, live and in studio right here on the Morning News Express. Bob Miller and Ryan Hedrick, 846 at WFMD, as we continue to discuss the murder of Jaion Penamon, who was murdered in Burger King on Routson's Way. We have an equity and inclusion officer. His name is Michael Hughes, is employed by Frederick County, and it's his job to make sure that things are equitable and fair for the community, with hiring practices, with diversity, and that's a big talking point for a lot of political parties now. When we look at this, and I know there's no racial component, we've identified that we need to keep race out of it. However, when you look at a white kid shooting a black kid, that can't be good for the overall health and overall welfare of the community, because people are going to look at this, David, no matter how much we tell them it's not about race. To some people, it's going to be about race. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, it's always, people always throw race into the situation. Man, I would sit down, I had breakfast the other day with Charlie Smith, and we were just talking about even the incident at the fairgrounds whenever it was a young black kid.
With John Weed?
That situation. Mm-hmm. That even went really, really, really political, and it really, really got racist for no reason, when it was just a particular situation that went bad. But our community always is looking for that lens, like flip the lens to see how is that a racist thing? How is that a political thing? And it doesn't need to be. It just needs to be a people thing. You know, if we really focus on people, how can we change that person? How can we make this not happen again? That's where we need to be as a community.
Real quick, let's talk about the victim, Bob, because we've mentioned him in the context that he was murdered, but what should we know? I know you don't know him personally, but you've certainly heard about him. You know, let's share some memories. Do you know anything about the young man that was shot and killed?
I mean, I've never met the young man that was killed. I've met some of his friends, and they've told me. I've met people that were mentored, and people say that, man, he's not just a perfect kid. You know what I mean? But
There's
how
no
many
such
of
thing
us-
as a perfect kid.
So it's like, what do a child need to do to become an adult? That means make mistakes, try something, you know. But some mistakes cost us years. And that's what you don't want, is you don't want those kids to get years. And if they haven't gotten years yet, they're still able to change, you know.
Talking about David, I mean, one of the things that you mentioned was, telling kids, and teaching them to be, and growing up and doing the right things and the attitudes. Well, in all aspects, that's what this young man did. He saw something being wrong and stepped in to try to intervene, or try to help somebody who was probably a little more helpless, and cost him his life for doing the right thing. Do you think now kids look at that and go, or even people like you and I, or Ryan, and go, I'm not getting involved?
Man, listen, man, I'm gonna tell you this, man, and you can ask my wife. One thing about me is I'm just not scared to die, because I believe that there's a true God, and a God that gives me everything that I need and provides everything. And I talk to my children even about these situations, and I say, man, you always do what's right. I don't care what anything else says or how it goes. I mean, I don't want to see my own children pass away because they're helping out. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of people in the community, that's the way we are now. We just turn our backs. Like, if it doesn't have anything to do with us, we just don't get involved. And I think that mindset is and it's people's maladaptive thinking. People are crazy nowadays, and we don't know how bad somebody's life is. And a lot of times you see somebody doing something or like this, a domestic violence situation, and most people say, man, I'm just not getting involved.
Yeah.
And as long as but it's sad though.
Which is a shame, because Jaion Penamon was one of 36 people killed in the United States in domestic violence incidents over the Christmas Day weekend.
Wow.
We have a problem in our country.
Man, we have a problem, and problems are everywhere, man. We can sit and everybody can find a problem, and you would still have more problems to deal with. And that's why, for me, I just look at problems that I like to deal with. That's criminal behavior. And that's the only reason why I even paid attention to this, was because it was a crime. Most time I don't get involved with, like, some people might like pets and animals like that. That's what they advocate on. But the problem is that I can push what I feel is the right thing. This is the most important, but everybody has something that's important that they want to fight, or they want to die on that mountain. So a lot of people just they're not moved by what you think is important. So as long as you believe that it's important, you just fight. And that's the reason why I made that video, is because I feel that it's important. I don't think WFMD is a bad entity. I'm not saying that. All I was asking is if this ever happens again, just don't do that. You understand what I mean? Just don't do that.
Right. Until there's some sort of press release or something, then
go for it.
Right.
Run with it.
Right.
But just.
So do you think, David, that should, because I know that a lot of people asked, and I think you even said it, that WFMD should issue some kind of an apology still?
I mean, I think that anytime you bring with that, if you guys don't feel that you guys did anything wrong, then don't change. I'm not telling anybody to do something that's outside the threshold. But if you can truly say, just within a blink of an eye or just a little bit of doubt, we might have went a little too early. And if you guys can at least say that, the community then will say, at least I know that they're for us. And that's all I'm saying. Don't change for me. Change for the people, if that's what you think that you should be doing.
And I don't like, I'll be honest with you, I don't like the retraction word, because in journalism it's almost a sign of failure. However, if it is necessary in this case, then I guess maybe one will be issued. For now, we don't speak for the news department. However, I will tell you that I've reached out to the state's attorney to find more facts, and as those facts become available, the community will know, because we will publish them on the website. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me, man.
If you're listening to this and you have somebody who is struggling, you have somebody who is dealing with this, some of the things that we talked about here. I know David is, he's hardcore, but he's also, like I'd say, the big sexy gentle teddy bear, but he'll tell you the truth and he'll tell you straight. Is there somewhere some people can reach out to you?
Man, they can reach out to me at Facebook. I mean, David Charles Brooks. Look at me there. Check me out at Cadillac Counselor. I mean, any way you want to get a hold of me, I'm down to talk. But I just don't talk about stupid stuff. I only talk about things that are real that can be changed. And if it can't be changed, then I'm not talking.
All right, we have to go. Thank you so much, Cadillac
you, guys.
Counselor. We appreciate you. The Cadillac Counselor.
Love you, man.
On the air. It is 8:54 now at WFMD. Great
Hey.
discussion, brother.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so
Hey,
much.
And if we got to do it again, you let me
Yeah,
know.
you know what? If we have to do it again, then we have to do it again. But I promise, again, I can't speak for the news department, but I will follow up the facts. And if we need to offer a retraction of any type, I just can't speak for them.
I got, and my thing is I'm not even, it's not even about a retraction. It's just communicate, because there's more than, there's all types of people watching this, and
Right.
you don't want to alienate people by making people think that you know what I mean?
And sometimes you only get one shot to be a credible news source with somebody that might be coming into the community. I know, like for me, just personally, I'm done with CNN. I'm done with a lot of those networks that race bait, that package everything in one narrative and just present it over and over and over and over again. I'm done with those networks. It's hard to get my trust back once you've broken it, so I don't want to feel like that.
That's why I watch the British networks. I mean,
Yeah,
I
BBC?
just give me
BBC,
the,
exactly.
just
I
give
want
me
the news.
Just give me the news. I don't want
agree.
no opinion. I don't want to care how you feel, and I don't like the way they dig for emotion. Like
Yeah.
it's like, that's why I can't watch it.
Yeah.
It's just too much, and I'm
All the
done.
news outlets now, the stories are all slanted. We try, just so you know, our news department, because we're a conservative talk station, like we have a lot of personalities,
Yeah.
especially syndicated during the day, that are conservative talk, right?
Yeah.
So, and then Fox News still has a slant, and I tell my news department all the time, we're local, really local, and those local stories should have nothing to do. There should be no slant. It should be purely, here are the facts.
Yeah.
So, the fact that we did get some really early information,
Yeah.
we actually did have a reporter on the scene who made observations as well that were on the scene.
Yeah.
So again, it's unusual for us to come out with something, and again, we'll have to see in the end.
And I know
Does
how
it work
goes.
out? But I got your
There's a
point,
lot of
and
it.
it made me stop and think, like, wow, you had a really good point. That even if it turns out to be true, maybe it just
All
was
right,
a
guys,
little
stand by.
early.
We're coming back
Go
on
ahead.
here.
Yeah, step out.